How's it going, everyone? This is the Drifter here with my first ever awful pilot episode. I'll bore you with the details about this channel afterwards because game streamers do otherwise, and I absolutely hate that with every fiber of my being. You aren't here for my life story, you're here for ghost ships, so let's get into it. First, we should probably discuss what a ghost ship actually is, which I'm assuming pretty much everyone already knows, but let's go over it anyway. According to Wikipedia, a ghost ship, also known as a phantom ship, is a vessel with no living crew aboard. It may be a ghostly vessel, such as the Flying Dutchman, or a physical derelict found adrift with its crew missing or dead, like the Mary Celeste. The term is sometimes used for ships that have been decommissioned, but not yet scrapped, as well as drifting boats that have been found after breaking loose of their ropes and being carried away by the wind or the waves. Now, when I say ghost ship, the first thing that popped into your head was probably the Flying Dutchman. There's an odd story to that, but we'll get to that a little bit later. Let's discuss some of these notorious naval disasters, shall we? Okay, so the first ship I want to talk about is this Dutch freighter called the SS Orang Medan. Everything about this ship is just shrouded in mystery, from the untimely deaths of its crew to its very name. And the reason I say this is because there aren't actually any records using the name SS Orang Medan. Her first known reference was in a 1952 issue of Proceedings from the Merchant Marine Council. Its name, in Indonesian, means Man of Medan, and any investigation into her origin turned up as a dead end. So, yeah, that blows. She already doesn't exist. Great start. But there actually is a clue into the name, which is Madam Medan suggests that it might have been from Medan, which is a city located in Sumatra. The ship's first actual appearance on the scene was from a distress call in 1948. The radioman that received the message claimed that the man on the other line said that everyone on the ship was either dead or dying. The signal was later triangulated by UK and Dutch radio towers and the American merchant vessel, the Silver Star. The American ship, being the closest, was the first to respond. I'm guessing everything went from Scooby-Doo to Silent Hill pretty damn fast because when the crew got there, what they described was horrific. Corpses lay decaying much faster than they should have in a room temperature over 100 degrees Fahrenheit or 38 degrees C. More curiously, no visible signs of injury were actually found on the bodies despite the terror-stricken faces. In fact, the entire investigation literally went up in smoke when the vessel spontaneously exploded during its tow back to the naval shipyards. In under an hour, she was at the bottom of the sea, taking her secrets with her. Despite this, several theories regarding the death of its crew have appeared in various magazines and articles. In fact, among the more notable was the survivor who was found on Bokak Atoll in the East Indies who told authorities that the crew perished from the fumes of a poorly secured cargo of a sulfuric acid. Another popular theory suggests that the ship's hold contained various chemicals and biological warfare materials that would have reacted violently with seawater in the event of a leak. Others believe they were captured by the Japanese, and in doing so would have reflected badly on the US government during the war. So, naturally, she would be flying false colors under a bogus name. Even the crazier conspiracy theories claim that the crew was killed by aliens. The sheer number of variations of stories around the ship and the elusive confirmation of its existence has made her a legend in and of itself, without any proof that it was anything more than a myth. Now, the next one I want to talk about is called the Lady Lovabond. She was a legendary three-masted schooner that set sail on 13 February 1748 with her captain Simon Reed, or Peel, depending on who's telling you the story. The voyage from Kent, England was meant to be as a honeymoon for the captain and his newlywed wife. But anyone who knows anything about the sea knows that at the time, women on board ships was bad juju, and was highly opposed by his crew. The most against it, of course, was his first mate, John Rivers, who was infatuated with Miss Annetta before she married Captain Reed. No Jolly Roger's here, just red flags. In what is assumed to be a drunken rage which struck one night out at sea, First Mate Rivers murdered the helmsman with a belaying pin. Those of you non-sailors, that's a removable cleat used for tying down sail lines. But the ship quickly ran aground in an area known as the Goodwin Sands, a ship graveyard said to contain the wrecks of over 2,000 other vessels. Dashed on the rocks, the ship sank, killing the entire crew in the dead of night.
Don't worry, Captain, we'll buff out those scratches.
Now, like the Medan, there are no records of any such ship ever being built, and there are no docking ledgers that were ever found that hailed her name. However, that hasn't stopped other ships from actually seeing her since she sank. In 1978, the captain of the Eden Bridge, James Westlake, sighted her near the Godwin Sands. Deploying several lifeboats in search of survivors as the Lady Lovabond was dashed upon the rocks once again, naturally with no survivors or bodies being recovered. Apparently, the Lovabond had a love for the Godwin Sands, as she was spotted from the shore in 1848, only to crash again. A second team was sent out with the same result the Edinburgh crew would have had 130 years after. Her last appearance was actually in 1948 when Captain Bull Prestwick claimed that he spotted her with an eerie greenish glow, but swore that she was as solid as the ship he stood on. Rumors actually started of another sighting back in 1999, but no names or testimonies ever came up. The Lady Lovabond shares her haunting grounds with the ocean liner SS Montrose and the Shrewsbury Man-of-War and the mythical Isle of Lomia, the traces of which have never been found. Alright, let's get to the one you're all waiting for. And unfortunately, it's going to be a little underwhelming, mostly because the legend is not quite as old as you think, but it is colorful. Natively known as the De Legende Hollander, I'm sure I pronounced that wrong, the Flying Dutchman is the most iconic ghost ship in the world, and is said to be damned to the seas forever, cursed to never make port. Now, trust me, as a sailor, you would never wish this upon your most hated enemies. The first myths regarding this famous vessel originated in the 16th to 17th century, and has held an impressive track record for sightings all the way up until the 20th. Now, rumors used to spread in the 18th century that should another ship acknowledge her, letters would appear in the postal service addressed to the long-dead families of the crew, violating numerous postal codes. More than an actual vessel, the Flying Dutchman seems to be more of a harbinger of doom, appearing only in stormy seas with a ghostly glow. Since her name first appeared in an article by John MacDonald in 1790, she's had several sightings, including respected members of the naval community, including Prince George of Wales, the soon-to-be King George V. However, most of its notoriety was inspired by an old novelist and World War I naval officer by the name of Nicholas Montserrat. Since its popularity began to spike after Montserrat published The Cruel Sea, there have been more than a couple theories regarding the feasibility of such a ship, or explained as to its seemingly supernatural properties. The most notable phenomenon is known as Fata Morgana, a type of mirage that through certain atmospheric conditions can create a mirrored illusionary copy of a ship that appears to float just above the horizon, giving it the impression of a ghostly vessel that sails just above the waves. There has, however, been a few ways to explain the ghostly glow, say for bioluminescent plankton, which is not uncommon in the North Sea. So these phantom ships seem like something from the minds of more primitive and superstitious times, but there are some unexpectedly new ones to discuss. Back in 24 August 2006, the Italian Coast Guard spotted a wayward schooner off the coast of Sardinia. When the Coast Guard boarded her in an attempt to steer her away from the rocks, they found no crew on board. Instead, they found a wealth of oddities that included maps of the North Atlantic coastline written in French, partially eaten North African food, and a flag of Luxembourg. During the investigation, they found no records of the construction of any vessel matching its description, her only identification being only a plaque with her name on it. Incidentally, it is thought the name is actually a misspelling of Bella Amica, which supposedly means beautiful friend in Italian. For a time, it was unknown as to whether or not the ship had been abandoned or if the crew had been taken and killed by pirates, the latter being eventually dismissed since the vessel itself was the greatest value and was obviously not taken. Unexpectedly, the authorities managed to track down the owner. Some douche canoe named Frank Rayaro, I believe that's how it's pronounced, had abandoned the ship in order to handle an emergency at home. An alibi that actually checked out given the signs of hasty disembarkation. The general consensus was that the ship's name had not come up because he didn't register it for tax evasion purposes. Go figure.
The code is more what you'd call guidelines than actual rules.
Alright, finally, now we can get to my favorite. The SS Bachmo was a steel-hulled steamer built in 1914 in Sweden for trading amongst the northern European countries during the First World War. Sometime later, she was sold to the Hudson Bay Company in 1921, where she was used for trading fur and supplies to nomadic tribes along the Canadian West Coastal region. On the 1st of October 1931, she set out for what would be her greatest voyage of all time. She became trapped in an ice pack in Alaska. Running low on supplies, the crew abandoned her to her tomb and escaped to Barrow, which rests along the northern border. When they returned with the supplies 2 days later, she'd mysteriously vanished. She was found only a few days later on October 8th, trapped once again in the ice. As the crew set up a nearby camp, a sudden blizzard overtook them and dropped their visibility faster than a text conversation with your ex. As the snow cleared, the Bachmo had disappeared once again. A week after that, a seal hunter spotted her. Along with his help, the crew loaded the remaining fur onto an airplane to be carried away, as she was once again locked away in an icy coffin. Since then, the Bachmo has sailed along the northwestern coastline with over 16 confirmed sightings. She was last spotted in 1969. 37 years later, in 2006, an Alaskan government began a fruitless search for her, where she remains an elusive phantom to this very day. Now, this last one isn't exactly a ghost ship, but the story is just too damn good to leave out of this video. Fellow Clive Cussler fans might remember his 1986 novel Cyclops, and like many of his works, is based on real-life disasters. The Cyclops EC4 was a Proteus-class collier vessel, meaning it was designed to carry coal. She was commissioned on the 1st of May 1917 by William Cramp and Sons of Philadelphia. It was under the command of one Lieutenant Commander George Worley and operated mainly along the United States eastern coastline. As America stepped into the arena during World War I, she was assigned to Brazilian waters for supporting British ships in the southern Atlantic. She departed Rio de Janeiro on 16 February 1918 and made a short stop in Salvador 4 days later. Unfortunately, that was the last anyone ever saw of her. She was scheduled to arrive in Baltimore, Maryland, carrying a load of manganese ore on the 13th of March. Her last recorded position was near a vile vortice commonly known to y'all as the Bermuda Triangle, attributing to the legends surrounding the area. And the fact that her sister ships, the Proteus and the Nereus, similarly dropped off the face of the earth during World War II, probably didn't help much. On the 1st of June 1918, Franklin D. Roosevelt officially declared her lost, with all hands deceased. This totaled over 308 crew members, the largest loss of life outside combat ever suffered by the US Navy. The wreck and her crew are still out there somewhere. Anyway, that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this mediocre video, and if you did, feel free to like and or subscribe. Or check out my Facebook page for more consistent content. Originally, I wanted to make these videos with a VTuber style avatar, since I believe limiting those to foreign Twitch streamers is criminally wasted potential. But I just don't have the resources or software to make anything like that. So tell me what else you'd like to see down in the comments, and if there's any interesting enough topic down there, maybe I'll make a video on it. This is the Drifter, signing off, and we'll catch you on the flip side.